If you were to just walk right into the cockpit of a modern commercial airliner today,
Oh, yeah.
you just see this massive, overwhelming wall of dials and switches and like illuminated screens everywhere.
Right. It's a lot.
It really is. And to anyone who hasn't spent, years in flight school, it looks like absolute incomprehensible chaos.
Oh, completely.
But I mean, to a trained pilot, it's not chaos at all. It's this highly organized, real-time story about exactly what the plane is doing, how fast it's traveling, the aerodynamic pressure.
Yeah, the actual environment outside.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And trying to fly that plane without those dials, I mean, it would be reckless. You'd essentially be flying blind into a hurricane.
Which is, frankly, a genuinely terrifying thought.
Yeah.
Yet, remarkably, it's kind of exactly what a massive percentage of retail traders do when they, step into the financial market.
Right.
They try to fly the plane by sticking their head out the window and, guessing the wind speed.
Literally guessing.
Yeah, instead of just reading the instruments right in front of them.
Exactly. And, well, that brings us to our mission for today's deep dive. We are looking at a concept in options trading that, honestly, it sounds like intimidating, inaccessible financial jargon.
It does. It sounds like Wall Street quant stuff.
Right, exactly. But the reality is, it's just the primary flight display in your dashboard. It's a really practical, incredibly precise compass for navigating the options market.
Yeah.
And today, we are going to demystify it for you. We're talking about delta.
Delta. It truly is the ultimate instrument on the trader's dashboard. But before we get into the mechanics of how it actually works...
Oh, right, the ground rules.
Yeah, we do need to pause and establish the non-negotiables.
Definitely. We have to establish right out of the gate that today's deep dive is strictly for educational and informational purposes.
Yes.
What we're discussing today, from our research stack, it's not financial, investment, legal, or tax advice. Right. Options trading involves a highly significant risk of loss. And frankly, it just isn't suitable for all investors. You should always, always perform your own due diligence and, consult a licensed professional before you ever execute a live trade.
Absolutely essential to keep that front of mind. The financial markets are, well, they're entirely unforgiving.
Yeah.
And the mathematical concepts we're exploring today, they are frameworks for defining your risk. They are not crystal balls.
No.
And they are certainly not guarantees.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because in this deep dive, we aren't just going to stare at, Greek mathematical formulas on a whiteboard.
Thankfully.
Right. We are exploring this fascinating set of research notes that break delta down into clear, actionable guardrails.
Yeah, for both buyers and sellers.
Exactly. But to even start that conversation, we have to address a pretty major misconception. Because the notes make it very clear. Delta isn't just one metric.
Right.
It is essentially 3 distinct tools wearing a trench coat.
I love that. 3 tools in a trench coat. It's a brilliant way to visualize it. Because, when you open your brokerage platform and you look at an options chain, you see this column labeled delta with a number next to it.
Like 20 or 40 or whatever.
Right. Say 20 or 40. Your brain naturally wants to treat it as a single static data point, like the temperature outside.
Right. Just a fact.
But depending on the specific goal of your trade, you actually have to interpret that exact same number through 3 entirely different analytical lenses.
So let's walk through those lenses because they really set the foundation for everything.
Let's do it.
Lens number 1 is probability. If you're looking at a 20 delta option, the market is essentially pricing in a roughly 20% statistical probability that this specific contract is going to expire in the money.
Exactly.
Which, inherently means there's an 80% statistical probability it expires out of the money.
Right. It's the market's live, real-time consensus based on, current implied volatility and the time left to expiration. It's telling you whether or not that strike price is going to be breached. So if you're scanning a list of contracts, the delta is giving you an immediate, mathematically derived probability of just crossing the finish line.
But, probability only tells us if we'll actually cross that finish line.
Yeah.
As a trader, you also need to know what the G-forces are going to feel like along the way. Which brings us to lens 2, the directional speedometer.
The speedometer, yes.
This dictates the velocity of your option's price relative to the underlying stock. So the notes explain that a 40 delta option moves 40 cents for every $1 move in the underlying stock.
Precisely. It measures your directional sensitivity.
Right.
So if the stock drops by $1 and you're holding a 40 delta put option, your premium increases by 40 cents.
Okay.
It tells you exactly how much of the stock's actual movement you're capturing in your portfolio.
And this makes perfect sense if you think about it like a manual transmission in a car.
Oh, sure.
A 40 delta is kind of like cruising in third gear. You've got decent speed, you're moving dynamically with traffic, but you aren't redlining the engine.
Right, right.
But if you shift up into the higher delta, say an 80 or 90 delta, that is like flooring the gas pedal in fifth gear.
Yeah, you feel everything.
Exactly. Every bump in the road, every mile per hour the stock accelerates. You feel it instantly and violently in your options price.
And on the flip side.
Right. A 5 delta is like being stuck in park. The stock can be moving a mile a minute, and your option is barely inching forward.
That analogy perfectly captures the velocity aspect. The speedometer tells you your capital efficiency relative to the stock.
Yeah.
And that bridges us perfectly into lens 3, which is share equivalence.
Share equivalence, right?
Because standard equity option contracts represent 100 shares of the underlying stock, your delta tells you exactly how many shares your specific contract is mimicking at this exact second.
Okay.
So a 50 delta option behaves in your portfolio identically to holding 50 literal shares of that stock.
So wait, if I buy a 50 delta call, my portfolio's daily P&L reacts to the market exactly as if I had just deployed the cash to buy 50 actual shares.
Exactly. And what's fascinating here is that you don't have to pull out a calculator.
Right.
You don't have to run complex differential equations to figure all this out. These aren't 3 separate data points.
All the same number.
Yes, it's 3 different ways of interpreting the exact same number flashing on your screen.
Wow.
A 50 delta intrinsically means a 50% probability of expiring ITM, a 50-cent price reaction per dollar move, and the synthetic equivalence of holding 50 shares. It is a single, unified theory of your trade's behavior.
That's a phenomenal foundation, because now that we know how to read the primary dials on the dashboard, we have to look at how actual pilots apply them to different weather conditions.
Right.
The research notes split the market into 2 distinct, fundamentally opposed camps, sellers and buyers.
Yes, the 2 sides of the coin.
Let's start with the sellers. For people selling short options or, deploying credit spreads, delta acts as a master dial.
It does.
You're constantly trying to balance 2 competing forces, a sustainable win rate against capital efficiency. And the notes point out that sellers frequently get lured into 2 very specific, statistically dangerous traps.
They do. The seller's dashboard is entirely calibrated toward defending a perimeter.
Right.
But human psychology often overrides the math.
Oh, always.
Let's look at trap 1, which the notes define as the high-risk zone. This is when sellers operate in the 30 to 40-plus delta range.
Okay.
Sellers gravitate here because the premiums are undeniably attractive. If you sell a 40 delta short put, you are collecting a significant amount of cash up front.
Right, and mechanics-wise, a 40 delta gives you roughly a 60% probability of winning the trade, which honestly sounds pretty great to the human brain.
It sounds amazing.
If you can win 6 out of 10 hands at a casino, you'd own the casino. But we know from the notes this is a massive trap. And it's a trap because of your proximity to the tripwire. You're operating with a razor-thin margin for error.
Right. At 40 delta, the underlying stock price is basically breathing down the neck of your strike price.
Yeah.
It only takes a minor, everyday market fluctuation to suddenly put your short strike in the money. But the physical proximity isn't actually what kills the trade.
No.
No, it's the underlying mechanism of gamma vulnerability.
Ah, right. Because if delta is our speed, gamma is our rate of acceleration.
Precisely.
And I want to dig into the physics of this for a second, because the notes highlight this beautifully. When you're selling way out at a 10 delta, a $1 move in the stock doesn't really alter the probability of your strike getting breached.
Right, the market barely registers it.
But when you're sitting at a 40 delta, you are right on the edge of the cliff. A $1 move is suddenly the difference between a 0% payout and a 100% payout at expiration.
Exactly.
So the market violently reprices that probability.
And that violent repricing is gamma acceleration in action. When you sell in that 30 to 40 delta zone and the stock starts moving against you, your delta doesn't just slowly tick up to 41, then 42.
Right.
Because of gamma, it aggressively accelerates toward 50, 60, and beyond. Suddenly, a trade you thought was a slow, steady income generator starts violently mirroring the underlying stock price point for point.
So you thought you were cruising in third gear, collecting some nice premium, and suddenly gamma grabs the shifter, slams you into fifth gear, and you are accelerating directly into a brick wall.
That's exactly it.
The unrealized losses must spike incredibly early in the trade cycle.
They do. which induces panic selling. And mathematically, because of that gamma acceleration, a 60% win rate practically guarantees you will experience frequent oversized drawdowns.
Wow.
The premium capture is high, sure, but the structural mechanics dictate that one severe accelerated loss in this zone will easily wipe out the profits from 5 or 6 consecutive winning trades.
Which perfectly explains the cardinal rule for sellers in our research notes. Never judge an option by the premium alone.
Never.
A fat cash payout at a 40 delta isn't free money. It's the market explicitly pricing in a high structural risk of gamma explosion.
Exactly. So naturally, when newer traders experience that gamma explosion, their instinct is to back as far away from the cliff as humanly possible.
Oh, the other way.
Right, which leads us directly into trap 2 inefficient capital. This is the 1 to 5 delta zone.
The illusion of absolute safety.
Yes.
The notes say selling way out here offers an estimated 95% to 99% probability of expiring worthless. And I have to push back here, or at least play devil's advocate for you listening.
Please do.
Wait, if I have a 99% statistical probability of winning a trade, why wouldn't I just automate that?
It's a fair question.
A win is a win, right? Even if I'm only making $5 a trade, I'm compounding virtually guaranteed wins. Why is this structurally considered a trap?
It comes down to 2 major structural flaws: severe capital inefficiency and asymmetric tail risk. Let's tackle the capital inefficiency first. To sell a naked option or a wide spread that far out of the money, your broker requires you to freeze a significant amount of collateral.
Right.
You might be tying up $1,000 in buying power to collect a mere $5 in premium.
Ouch.
Right. Your return on equity, your ROE, is so abysmal that you are frequently making less on an annualized basis than if you just parked that collateral in a basic treasury bill.
Okay, so from a purely operational standpoint, the juice just isn't worth the squeeze. You're locking up massive capital for literal pennies.
Exactly.
But what about that 99% safety net? Surely that makes up for the low return.
And that brings us to the asymmetric tail risk.
Okay.
You're collecting pennies, but you're assuming massive theoretical risk. Think of it like an insurance company selling volcano insurance for $1 a month in a town that hasn't seen an eruption in 300 years.
Right. It feels like 100% pure uninterrupted profit every single month. You collect the dollar, log the win. Collect the dollar, log the win.
Right up until the day the volcano actually erupts.
Oh, boy.
And you suddenly owe $10 million in claims. In the markets, that volcano is a black swan event.
Yeah.
It's an overnight gap down, a catastrophic earnings miss, a macroeconomic shock. When you sell 1 to 5 delta options, you are literally picking up pennies in front of a steamroller.
Wow.
Because your margin requirement is so high relative to your premium, when that 1% outlier event finally happens,
And it will.
and statistically, given enough time, it is an absolute mathematical certainty that it will.
Yeah.
That single loss wipes out years of accumulated pennies in an afternoon.
It's devastating. You lose the entire $1,000 of collateral just trying to make $5.
Exactly.
So if trap 1 at 40 delta is too aggressive because gamma acceleration kills you, and trap 2 at 5 delta is a statistical illusion where a black swan eventually crushes you, where exactly are sellers supposed to be looking?
The research notes identify the practical mathematical sweet spot for sellers as the 15 to 20 delta zone, specifically targeting roughly the 16 delta, which statistically represents about 1 standard deviation away from the current underlying stock price.
And what makes 1 standard deviation the Goldilocks zone?
Because it optimally balances the competing forces we discussed. From a probability standpoint, it provides roughly an 80% to 84% chance of success.
Right.
That's a highly sustainable, realistic win rate. But unlike the 1 delta trap, you are actually collecting meaningful premium relative to your frozen collateral. You have viable return on equity.
Yeah.
And crucially, unlike the 40 delta trap, the 16 delta provides a massive structural cushion.
Right. You have enough physical distance between the stock price and your short strike to absorb normal, everyday market chop.
Exactly.
A stock can bounce around on random news headlines, and you aren't immediately getting whipped by gamma acceleration.
Yeah.
Your trade thesis remains intact without requiring panic adjustments.
Exactly. It historically balances the frequency of your wins with highly manageable drawdown sizing when the market inevitably does turn against you.
Okay, so the seller's dashboard is finally calibrated to avoid the tripwire and the steamroller.
Yes.
But if you step over the buyer's side of the market, if you're going long on options or debit spreads, the entire physics engine of the market completely inverts.
Completely.
Delta isn't just about defending a perimeter anymore. It dictates your active leverage and your fundamental exposure to time.
Yes. For a buyer, time is the ultimate enemy.
Right.
The moment you purchase a long option, you are holding a decaying asset. Theta is actively eating away at your position every single day. Sellers love theta because time pays them. Buyers are in a relentless, mathematically guaranteed war against it.
And that war against time beautifully illustrates the very first buyer's trap in our notes, the lottery ticket trap.
Oh, yes.
This is buying in the 10 to 20 delta zone, far out of the money contracts. Now, here's where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
The exact same delta zone, that 15 to 20 range that represents the mathematical sweet spot for a seller, is a toxic, structurally doomed trap for a buyer.
It is the ultimate market irony. And it's entirely due to the mechanics of intrinsic versus extrinsic value.
Okay.
When you buy a 15 delta option, it consists of 100% extrinsic value. It has absolutely zero real, tangible worth at that moment.
None.
Its entire price tag is based purely on the hope that it might have value in the future.
And because hope is governed by time, theta is taxing that extrinsic value every single day.
Right.
So if I'm a buyer holding a 15 delta option, the stock doesn't just need to move in my direction. It has to move significantly, and it has to move immediately just to outpace the daily tax of time decay so I can even break even.
It's exactly like trying to run up a down escalator.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
If you don't sprint, the mechanics of the escalator are actively pulling you backwards. Statistically, you know going in that you are going to lose 80% to 90% of your trades in this zone. You are bleeding capital on the slow drip of theta.
Okay, so if the lottery ticket is a structural loser because of theta,
Yeah.
what about the exact middle of the board, the coin toss?
Ah, the 50 delta.
Right. The 50 delta at the money option. It gives you a literal 50-50 statistical probability, and as we discussed with our speedometer, it gives you a very balanced 1-to-2 leverage ratio. One contract perfectly mimics 50 shares.
It looks incredibly balanced on paper.
Yeah.
But there is a massive catch regarding how extrinsic value operates at the 50 delta line.
Okay.
At the money options contain the absolute highest amount of extrinsic value in the entire options chain.
Right, and I wanted to do some mechanics of this because it's fascinating. Extrinsic value is basically an insurance premium against time and volatility.
Exactly.
At 50 delta, the contract is sitting right on the fence. It's a coin flip. The market has absolutely no idea if it will land heads or tails.
None.
So because of that maximum uncertainty, the market charges you the absolute maximum price for that volatility.
Precisely. You are paying peak premium for peak uncertainty.
But wait, if I'm paying maximum premium purely for the uncertainty of a coin toss, what happens when an earnings report drops and makes the outcome certain?
The volatility drains out of the market instantly.
So that extrinsic premium I paid has to just evaporate, right?
Yes.
I could get the directional move of the stock totally right, but still lose money because the implied volatility crush just wiped out the value of my contract.
That is exactly what happens. It's known as IV crush. The unknown becomes known, and the extrinsic value of your 50 delta option collapses in a matter of seconds.
Wow.
Add accelerating time decay to that, and the 50 delta coin toss becomes an incredibly difficult tightrope to walk for a buyer.
Which leaves us with the ultimate playbook for buyers, according to the research, the stock replacement strategy.
Yes.
And this requires abandoning the middle of the board and going all the way up into the 70, 80, or even 90-plus delta zone.
Yes.
Deep in the money.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, remember that the buyer's greatest enemy is theta, that daily tax on extrinsic value.
Right.
The reason the 70 to 80-plus delta zone works so beautifully for buyers is that these contracts consist almost entirely of intrinsic value.
Meaning they possess real mathematical worth. If the strike price is $100 and the stock is actively trading at $120, that option inherently possesses $20 of locked-in value, regardless of how much time is left on the clock or what implied volatility is doing.
Exactly.
And time decay simply cannot touch intrinsic value.
Exactly. Time only erodes the extrinsic, the hope value.
Right.
By going deep in the money to an 80 delta, you are mathematically insulating your position from that rapid time decay erosion. You dramatically slow down the melting ice cube effect.
Plus, going back to our speedometer lens, an 80 delta call is moving 80 cents for every $1 move in the stock. You are capturing 80% of the underlying asset's upside velocity.
Yeah.
And you're doing it with incredible capital efficiency. I mean, buying 100 shares of a $200 stock requires $20,000 in cash.
Right.
Buying one 80 delta call option on that same stock gives you control of the exact same 100 shares,
Yeah.
and you capture 80% of the price action, but it might only cost you a fraction of the capital.
Fraction, yeah.
And unlike outright shares that could, theoretically go to zero, your maximum downside risk is strictly capped at the premium you paid.
It is a complete paradigm shift in how you deploy capital. You're utilizing delta to strip away the risks of theta and volatility, isolating pure directional edge.
It really is. So what does this all mean? Let's distill this entire architectural breakdown into a final framework for you.
Let's do it.
First, high probability absolutely does not equal safety.
Nope.
We saw that explicitly with the one delta steamroller scenario. A 99% win rate is entirely meaningless if the math dictates that the 1% loss will systematically wipe out your entire account.
Exactly.
Second, never judge an option by the premium alone. A massive payout at a 40 delta isn't a gift. It is the market loudly warning you about the structural risk of gamma acceleration.
And third, you must always align your delta to your specific strategic physics. If you're a seller, your default framework should target that 15 to 20 delta zone. It provides optimal capital turnover, a mathematically sustainable win rate, and the necessary structural cushion to survive everyday market volatility without panic.
Yeah.
But if you're a buyer, you must default toward the 70 to 80 plus delta zone. You have to actively minimize your exposure to theta decay and maximize your directional edge through stock replacement mechanics.
It is entirely about knowing which game you are playing and ensuring your dashboard is calibrated to the physics of that specific game.
It is. But all of this mathematical structure raises an incredibly important question, and it's something I want you to really mull over as you analyze these markets going forward.
Absolutely.
Throughout this deep dive, we've explored delta as a probability metric, a directional speedometer, and a share equivalent.
Right.
But delta measures those variables based on current real-time market behavior. So what happens to the underlying math when overall market conditions shift violently? Can a statistically safe 15 delta option, that comfortable one standard deviation cushion we praised, spontaneously mutate into a highly dangerous 40 delta tripwire overnight?
Just out of nowhere.
Right. Can that happen even if the underlying stock price barely moves a single dollar, simply because macro market volatility spiked and changed the shape of the entire probability curve?
That is a deeply chilling thought for any premium seller.
Yeah.
The realization that the fundamental risk of your position can drastically mutate without the actual stock price ever challenging your strike.
It is a vital, lingering reminder. Delta is a snapshot in time.
Yeah.
It's a live calculation made in the present moment. It is not a guaranteed prophecy of the future. The dials in the dashboard are constantly dynamically reacting to the atmospheric pressure outside the plane.
And as we established right at the start, you wouldn't fly a plane blind into a hurricane.
Yeah.
Delta provides the precise instruments you need to navigate.
Yes, it does.
It dictates your velocity, your exposure, and your probabilities. But as the pilot in command, it is still entirely up to you to read those dials, continuously interpret the changing weather, and ultimately decide whether it's safe to take off in the first place.
Very true.
Keep your eyes locked on the dashboard, understand the underlying mechanics of what the numbers are actually telling you, and always respect the turbulence.